Benjamin Disraeli gave us some very valuable advice when he said, "People are defeated by easy, victorious, and cheap successes more than by adversity." If you give those words sufficient thought, you will realize how accurate he was. All too often, we permit a series of little successes to lull us into a false sense of accomplishment, cheating ourselves and the world out of the real greatness that lies dormant in the recesses of our marvelous mind. Hello, this is Bob Proctor with this edition of the Freedom Series titled The Big One. I firmly believe there is a huge unexpressed goal within you that is screaming to be released. And when it is, every molecule of your being will be illuminated, and you will find yourself living in a different world, a world that only a few adventurous souls ever experience. Then, in the latter years of your life, when someone asked you what your greatest accomplishment was outside of raising a loving family, you will smile and look back on the achievement that I am referring to as the big one. The person who conquers is the one who moves steadily, persistently, everlastingly toward the big one, unmindful whether the goal is always in sight or not, unmindful of obstacles, of difficulties, and discouraging experiences. He or she moves forward. As Robert Louis Stevenson wrote, "To travel hopefully is better than to arrive, and true success is to labor." You know, Lloyd C. Douglas, without question, is one of my favorite authors. He wrote The Magnificent Obsession. I don't believe any library is complete without that book. In The Green Light, he wrote, "Whatever I have been able to achieve in personal poise, stability, adequacy, has come to me by the way of obstacles that I have met. This has always been true of men since the dawn of history. Emergencies have always been necessary to man's evolution. It was the darkness that produced the lamp. It was the fog that produced the compass. It was the winter that clothed us, hunger that drove us to exploration. The aviator can taxi all day on the ground with the wind behind his back, but if he hopes to rise, he must drive into the face of it. Doubtless, you will find a way to solve your problems, and when you do, you will discover that your evolution has proceeded faster than could have been possible but for this heroic test. I have laid hold upon a truth powerful enough to sustain me until I die. I know that, in spite of the painful circumstances I have met, my course is upward. I know that the universe is on my side. It will not let me down. I have been detained at times, but eventually I go through. I have suffered, but I know that I am destiny's darling. You have suffered, but you too can carry on through. Take it from me. I know, in spite of the little detainments, disappointments, disillusionments, I get the lucky breaks. I get the signal to go forward. I have delayed long, but at last I get the green light." Those were great words by Lloyd C. Douglas. I want the information you are receiving in the Freedom Series to help you see the green light. I know the real you feels the urge to live in a larger way, to enjoy the experience of real achievement, and yet, at the same time, doubts wander aimlessly in and out of your mind. And questions, always those questions. Can I do it? Do I have what it takes? How do I stir my giant, my genius? How do I release the creative energy to do? Yes, to do the big one. You can begin by thinking about what you really want to do. What do you really want to do? Realize that life is not a practice run. You're not going to go by this way again. This is it. It's important to remember that every time you are tempted to play it safe. Some time ago, I was visiting New York with friends. We were standing in Times Square, and I looked up and saw a billboard that caught my attention. It read, "The person who has the most toys when he dies is still dead." I had to laugh. It's so true. Now, you might be thinking, that is a cute line, but what's the point? The point is not the toys. We don't do things for what we get. We do them for what we become. Everything you own at the time of your death is going to belong to someone else. But what you are is yours forever. You might have everything you want, but I can assure you that you have not become everything you are meant to become, everything you are capable of becoming. We're here to grow, to find out just how much of ourselves we can bring to the party. Dig into those deep reservoirs of talent and ability you possess. Find out what you are capable of doing, and absolutely refuse to let your old conditioning control you or your way of thinking any longer. The idea that is capable of transforming your life, that dream that slides into your consciousness when you're enjoying a quiet moment, the big one, the big one, sits there in the depths of your mind, waiting to see the light of day. Step out right now and do it. Turn a spotlight on it so all the world can benefit from its beauty. When you begin to talk to other people about the big one, make certain you are talking to people who are moving in the direction you're moving. Don't talk to the naysayers, the person next door or Uncle Harry who wants you to play it safe. You don't want to play it safe. You want to get right out there and live on the edge, where you must bring the best of yourself to the surface. Personal experience has taught me that committing to execute the big one requires courage. At times, a lot of courage. But I have learned the possibility of success increases dramatically when our courage is not blind, when we have courage that is based on understanding. We could begin by understanding what it is that causes all those naysayers, the person next door or Uncle Harry, to play it safe rather than go after the big one. They had dreams. What happened to their dreams? Why does anyone settle for living in such a little world? This follow-the-crowd group has courage, but it is shallow. It's hollow. It's weak and blind. It will not stand up to the test of discouragement, disappointment, and defeat, which are always part of the toll we pay on the road to freedom. This brings us to the subject that is probably one of the most important you will ever learn in your entire life, a concept that less than 5% of our population comprehend. It could and should be taught to a child with the same importance, and at the same age, we begin to teach them how to walk and talk the various languages that they willingly and eagerly grasp. Lack of understanding of this important concept has ruined many young lives by distorting their budding young self-image and causing the concept of inferiority, lack, and limitation to be accepted as a very real part of their lives. This looming imaginary demon I referred to as the terror barrier. I strongly urge you to listen to this message a number of times. Listen very carefully, because it truly has the ability to transform your life. Making the transition from settling for mediocre wants, minor dreams, and everyday follow-the-crowd accomplishments is a process made up of 4 different phases. Phase 1 is bondage. Phase 2 is reason. Phase 3 is the terror barrier, and Phase 4 is freedom. Virtually everyone goes through the first 3 phases of this process. Only a select few will make it to freedom, which is described as Phase 4. Standing guard between 3 and 4 is the terror barrier. No one reaches Phase 4 without passing through the terror barrier. The terror barrier is a psychological wall that can steal a dream right out of your mind and send you running for safety. Understanding the terror barrier, the enormous potential hazard that it represents in our life, coupled with a deep understanding of what takes place in the mind of the individual that enables them to go through the terror barrier, will prepare us to live the life that our spiritual nature calls for. The real difference between the big winners and the follow-the-crowd group in life is mental. It's strictly mental. You must be mentally strong. Understanding the workings of the mind definitely gives you an edge that can't be overlooked. You must understand how to still your mind when it is hit by fear, anxiety, trouble, and apprehension. Without mental strength, you would be like the follow-the-crowd group. You would become a victim of the disturbance, and victims never win. They never win. You want to win. Everyone wants to win. Winning is in harmony with the higher side of our nature. Winning makes us feel good, and we are attracted towards anything that makes us feel good, and we are repelled from anything that causes us to feel badly or that creates feelings of discomfort. That being true, it would make sense to investigate where the word feeling came from. What does it mean? How can we control it? In numerous articles, in virtually all of my recordings, I make reference to the fact that this entire universe operates by law, and the law is described as the uniform and orderly method of the omnipotent God. To effectively explain how a person can step out and act on the big one, march right through the terror barrier, it is necessary for us to focus on a couple of these laws. One of the first I want to discuss is the law of vibration. The law of vibration decrees that everything moves, nothing rests. We literally live in an ocean of motion. The objects sitting around you that appear to be still are actually masses of energy in a high speed of vibration. Focus on anything, from a teacup to the clothes you're wearing or the floor that you're standing on. View them through a proper microscope, and you will see those objects in their true state. All our energy in a very high state of vibration. They most certainly are not still. Now, since it is you that is going to be acting on the big idea, the dream, the big one, and since it is you who must develop the understanding and the mental strength to deal with the terror barriers in life, it's important that we begin to look at you, to look at your mind and what causes you to feel the way you feel. Place your body, perhaps a hand or a finger, under a microscope, and you will quickly see there is a whole lot more to you than meets the naked eye. Your body is a glistening, radiating, gleaming form. It is also important to remember that it is your body. You are not a body. Your body is something you have, something you live in. Your body is a mass of energy in a very high speed of vibration. Your brain is an electronic switching station. You, the real you, has the ability to activate brain cells, which in turn set up a vibration in your body. The law of polarity decrees that everything has an opposite. Every cell in your brain has a positive and a negative pole. And when you think, you activate either the positive or the negative pole. When you think negatively, you set up a negative vibration. Conversely, when you think positively, you set up a positive vibration. We invented the word feeling to describe our conscious awareness of the vibration we are in. Dr. J.B. Rhine said, "The mind is the greatest power in all of creation." He might well have added, for good or evil. As we have already mentioned, understanding how to still the mind when it is hit by fear or anxiety and switch to its polar opposite vibration of enthusiasm and faith is one of the real secrets of success in life. Our conditioning plays a major role when it comes to the vibration we are in. Our conditioning is both genetic and environmental. The conditioning of previous generations is passed along from one generation to the next in our universal subconscious mind. Many of the ideas that control our perceptions and our choice of thoughts that make up our belief systems, we did not originate, we inherited. When an individual develops the awareness to analyze many of these controlling concepts, it becomes obvious how ridiculous they are. Genetic conditioning is not only expressed in our behavior, it's also expressed in our appearance, which accounts for an individual looking so much like many of their relatives. All of this conditioning was programmed into your genes before you saw the light of day or took your first breath. After a person is born, environmental conditioning begins. A baby has absolutely no ability to choose what impressions are made upon their subconscious mind. The thoughts, prejudices, and belief systems of the people who make up the child's environment are accepted by the baby and become part of the young child's conditioned nature. Do a little research of welfare recipients in any city you choose, and you will find that most recipients are third, fourth, and fifth generation welfare recipients. By the time an individual reaches the point where they are able to think for themselves, they have been seriously programmed with everything from language to attitudes, and in fact, part of that conditioning is an attitude that says, this is just the way it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. The conditioning controls the vibration the mind and body is in. For the benefit of this particular message, in future we will refer to all of the subconscious conditioning as X-type energy. Now I want to suggest that you permit an image to come to the screen of your mind. I would like you to view your head as your mind and everything from the neck down as your body. This is, of course, not the way it is. It's merely an image that helps us understand the relationship of the mind to the body. In all of our seminars, we refer to this image as the stick person. Mentally draw a horizontal line through the center of your head from ear to ear. It's as if you've divided your head into two parts. The top half of your head we will refer to as the conscious mind. The bottom half we will refer to as the subconscious mind. Everything from the neck down will represent the body. In truth, your mind and body are one and the same. Mind is movement, and body is the manifestation of that movement. The conditioning is in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is in every cell of your body. Mental conditioning, genetic as well as environmental, is a multitude of ideas, each being fixed in your subconscious mind. Fixed ideas are more commonly referred to as habits. That's why behavior is frequently referred to as habitual behavior. Psychiatrists, psychologists, and behavioral scientists sometimes refer to conditioning as a paradigm. Paradigms control our vibration, and vibration controls our behavior. The behavior, of course, produces the results we get in life. An individual can be continually getting poor results and yet feel quite comfortable with it. Whatever vibration you are continually in is commonly referred to as your comfort zone. It's just the way we are. But I want you to understand, it's not the way we have to stay. Now that you have this picture in your mind of your mind and body, I want to add to this vision. Begin to see a huge funnel that is hooked up to the top of your head. And through this funnel, you see flowing a clear, unadulterated creative energy. It's flowing into your consciousness, to and through you, and it never stops. This creative energy has no form. You could say it is neutral. It is neither positive nor negative. It just is. It's our choice of thought that will make it positive or negative, creative or destructive. We can choose to continue to build X-type images that are in harmony with our old conditioning, or we could build Y-type images that represent the good that we desire. As this creative power flows into your consciousness, you have the ability, through the use of your higher mental faculties, to create ideas or images of your choice. It is at this point where an individual begins to create the improved lifestyle that they want. The life they have always dreamed of, the vacations, the home, the relationships, the dynamic, successful business, the prosperity that they see other people enjoying could be theirs. They could begin the creative process by taking this power that's flowing into their consciousness and building an image of a completely new lifestyle. However, ignorance of this beautiful truth causes this person to continue to build images of the only life they believe they are capable of. They continue to build X-type images that are in harmony with their old conditioning. They're comfortable with X-type ideas. If a person is conditioned to have a job and work for someone else, following the routine that is dictated by that person, they will feel quite comfortable with this form of thinking and behavior, even though they truly might not like it. They might actually like to be in an entrepreneurial situation where they create their own routine and dictate their own income. But that would constitute a Y idea and would not be in harmony with their X type of conditioning. Let's take another example where an individual's conditioned way of thinking produces an income of $100,000 a year. They are presented with an opportunity based on its strategy they understand and agree with where they could earn $100,000 a month. Again, that would represent a Y idea which is not in harmony with their X-type conditioning. Both of these individuals have the potential lying dormant within them to turn those Y ideas into a way of life. However, their behavior and results are being controlled by their old conditioning and not being directed by their potential. With all of this information that has just been covered fresh in your mind, let's analyze each of these 4 phases in the thought process that leads to freedom. First, begin with bondage. As you begin to analyze the first phase in this thought process, you will see that a very high percentage of our population is stuck in phase 1, getting the same results year after year. It will become obvious why I refer to this phase as bondage. These individuals have surrendered control of their life to their conditioning. All of us enter the world with a paradigm, which is actually a multitude of habits. As I previously mentioned, habits are ideas that are fixed in our subconscious mind and have the potential power to control our entire life. Vibration is a law of the universe. Everything vibrates, nothing rests. Conscious awareness of vibration is referred to as a feeling. Our conditioning controls our behavior, and our behavior controls our results. And although a person may have a deep dislike for the results they are getting, they continually complain about their results and their way of life, and they permit these X-type results to dominate their thinking. They are controlled by their outside world, but they still feel comfortable in that vibration. It's a true paradox that very few people understand. They continually think of what they do not want, ignorant of the fact that every great leader who has ever lived has agreed that we become what we think about. These leaders have disagreed on virtually every other subject, but on this basic law they are in complete and unanimous agreement. We become what we think about. Now let's go back to the image of the stick person and the funnel, and continue to view the truth that there is a clear, unadulterated creative power that flows to and through every living soul. As this power flows into our consciousness, we must understand that we have the mental faculties to create ideas or images with this power. Images that have the ability to transform our life. However, a person living in bondage lacks this understanding and will continue to choose thoughts that are in harmony with their old conditioning. As long as an individual continues to choose X-type images or thoughts, nothing will be disturbed, because those thoughts are in harmony with their conditioned nature. So, as this power flows to and through the individual, they continually create more of the same results, over and over again. This is definitely a form of bondage. But we must understand this individual is a willing participant, because they do have the ability to alter their thinking and thus alter their results. In most cases, in most parts of the world, individuals who are living in bondage come in contact with and view other individuals living a much more desired lifestyle. However, it's a lifestyle they feel they could not obtain. In many cases, they feel they are not even worthy of it. Low self-esteem contributes to their problem. However, the real cause of their problem is ignorance, and there is no allowance for ignorance. The conditioning is in control of the person's life. This is certainly a sad situation. On the brighter side, you must be pleased to know that you're definitely not a member of the group who is in bondage, or you would not be studying this material. The very fact that you have chosen to study any form of personal growth material is proof that you have left this stage that I frequently referred to as the follow the crowd group. This brings us to phase 2 of breaking through the terror barrier, which we refer to as reason. It's with our faculty of reason that we have the ability to think. And although in phase 2, the individual's results and their vibrations are in the same state as the person in bondage, they have seen the light. They have begun to activate their higher faculties. They are thinking new, different, beautiful thoughts. They are exercising their imagination. Why-type ideas are surfacing on the screen of their mind. They mentally see themselves living in a different world, involved in new activities. Prosperity is in sight. As they consciously analyze the possibility of achieving these improved results, they see there is a way. It could be done. It is possible, even for them, and they like what they see. However, because they have not internalized these ideas and have not become emotionally involved in them, which is essential before behavior or results change, everything remains the same. The why idea is merely in their conscious mind. At this point, the why idea would fall into the category of something they would like to have and even into something they think they can achieve. Their results will remain the same. Now, there are a lot of people who are living in this state, and it's not a good place to be. Their frustration is endless. They talk about what they want, they think about what they want, but they never get it because the conditioning never changes. Until the why idea graduates to a mental state we refer to as desire, the individual is going nowhere. The why ideas are in their consciousness, but the X-type energy controls their behavior. Desire is an interesting word. Wallace Wattles, in his classic, The Science of Getting Rich, explained that desire was the effort of the unexpressed possibility within, seeking expression without through our action. The early Greeks referred to it as deicire, to give birth to the children. We are taught to honor the male and female factor in our personality so that the days of our children will be long. Which brings into play the law of gender, which states everything is both male and female. The conscious male factor in the personality impregnates the subconscious female factor in the personality with the seed of thought, which, if properly nourished, will manifest in physical results. The individual, liking what they see and wanting it, catapults themselves into phase 3 of breaking through the terror barrier, where they instantly hit the terror barrier, and they find themselves in the position where their mind is flipping at light speed from fear to enthusiasm. They seem to be scared and excited at the same time. This must have been the mental state that Tolstoy found himself in when he explained that he couldn't stay where he was afraid to go ahead, and he couldn't go back. The terror barrier is not a fun place to be unless, and I want to repeat that, unless you really understand what is taking place. Then and only then is there the possibility for you to enjoy it. When an individual graduates to this state, their life will never be the same again. They may not crash through the terror barrier to freedom. However, they have been emotionally involved with a new and a better way of life. Something inside them told them they could actually live this way. Although they may return to live in bondage, they will not be living there in ignorance any longer, and that is a bad place to be. Think of this for a moment. When you begin to get emotionally involved with an idea that you are not in harmony with, every nerve in your body feels like it's going in a different direction at the same time. Our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are instantly tossed into a chaotic state. We are stepping into a place that we have never been before. We do not know what's going to happen. It's because it scares and excites us at the same time that we refer to it as hitting the terror barrier. Before analyzing the terror barrier in any depth, there are a couple of laws we must look at. The law of polarity clearly states that everything has an opposite. There's no up without down, no hot without cold, nor can you have a positive without a negative. When you connect the law of polarity to another basic law of life that states everything is either growing or dying, creating or disintegrating, and keep that information in mind as you begin investigating the terror barrier, it becomes very obvious why the follow the crowd group places their dreams on the shelf, when they should be acting on those dreams, permitting the dream to add a dimension of joy to their lives. The state of freedom we are referring to in Phase 4 can and has been reached without understanding these four phases or the law of polarity. But understanding each of them dramatically increases your odds of success and makes the trip to the big one an exciting, pleasurable adventure. Simultaneous to the why idea being impressed upon the emotions, you hit the terror barrier and all hell breaks loose. On a conscious level, doubt, worry instantly loom large in the mind. Your negative images are internalized and the emotion of fear fills every fiber of your being. The emotion of fear is then expressed through the only medium it can be expressed through, the physical medium, the body. And you move into a vibration that's more commonly referred to as anxiety. Keep in mind that you're dealing with the central nervous system. Your central nervous system is more complex than the electrical system in a supercomputer. It is, in fact, the most phenomenal electrical system known to civilization. The terror barrier is actually the coming together of these two opposing vibrations, X and Y. It could be compared to the hot and cold creating thunder and lightning. And as the terror permeates and penetrates every speck of your consciousness, an awareness also flashes upon the mind. The why idea is the cause of the problem. By releasing the dream and returning to bondage, the terror is gone. The waters have been calmed and the person is comfortable again. Their world is not improved, but they're comfortable. Now, since they have seen a better way but refuse to take responsibility to reach it, they begin to rationalize, which is rationing lies to the mind. This isn't such a bad place to be, and this car is okay. I don't need that house. That money would just create income tax problems. It's so comfortable here, and the truth is, it is comfortable. That is why we refer to it as the comfort zone. Portia Nelson talks about the comfort zone in a biography in 5 short chapters. Listen carefully. This is a classic. And in this context, it fits perfectly. Chapter 1. I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I am in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street. There's no way that I can know where you have been in the past. But I do know this. You want to go down a new street. And I want to go down a new street. When you hit the terror barrier, every speck of your conditioning is attempting to draw you back into bondage. It wants you to go down the same old street. It wants you to fall into the same holes. It wants you to feel helpless. It wants you to blame conditions and circumstance. It does not want you to take responsibility for where you are. But at the same time, your conscious understanding is screaming in your mind, go down another street. You can't go back. Your courage is building inside, and although you may have never felt more uncomfortable in your entire life, you want to keep going. Let Henry David Thoreau's words take up residence in your mind. Thoreau said, "If a person will advance confidently in the direction of their dreams and endeavor to live the life that they've imagined, they will meet with success unexpected in common hours." Isn't that great? But where does confidence come from? Confidence comes from knowledge. The more knowledge we have, the more confident we become. Thoreau said, "If a person will advance confidently in the direction of their dream." Do you know that if you listen to this particular message over and over again, it will sink deeper and deeper in your mind? And you're going to become more and more aware of what's attempting to hold you back. You will realize it's an illusion, made up of false ideas that reached you through some genetic connection. And the more you listen, the more your dream grows, the big one. And the more aware you become that you are capable of doing this in the face of fear. Thoreau continued, "And endeavor to live the life imagined." He didn't say that we've got to do this every day, but just give it your best shot. Are you going to do it without entertaining doubts? No. You're going to have doubts. You're going to have fear. In fact, I often say if your goal doesn't scare you, it isn't any good. I remember sitting on the side of the bed at home one morning and saying to my wife, "I know I'm on the right track." And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "My goal scares the daylights out of me." If a person will advance confidently in the direction of their dream and just endeavor to live the life they've imagined, you will meet with success unexpected in common hours. It's true. If you will keep this why idea on the screen of your mind, keep getting emotionally involved with it, and every time the negative idea comes up, every time fear and doubt moves in, remember that you have the conscious ability to flip from the negative to the positive polarity. Mentally yell out in your mind, switch! Switch from the X to the Y. Go from fear to enthusiasm. You may not see how you're going to reach the goal. You don't have to know how you're going to reach the goal. You just have to see the next step. Carlyle said, "Go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll see how to go further." Your success depends upon remembering to switch to the positive every time the negative tries to invade your mind. Permit me to digress for a moment. I want to take you back to the point where I made reference to the law of polarity, and I connected it to the basic law of create or disintegrate. I also recommended that you keep this in your conscious mind when you're dealing with the terror barrier. Now, I would like to elaborate on that for you. Ignorance causes a person to be controlled by their circumstances. When the negative hits and the person does not switch, they permit worry and doubt to take control of their consciousness. They immediately begin to move in a downward motion. Remember, I said it was create or disintegrate. Doubt and worry is a psychic disease. The doubt and worry spirals downward to an emotional state of fear. Those emotions, as were already mentioned, are expressed through the only medium they can be expressed through, your physical body. Your body moves into a vibration we called anxiety. The anxiety is generally suppressed, and the suppression of the anxiety usually deteriorates into depression. Depression is anger turned inwards. The depression moves the body into an unlawful vibration referred to as disease. I want to recommend that you hyphenate the word and see it for what it truly is, dis-ease. It's a body not at ease. The dis-ease moves into the next stage referred to as disintegration. The entire negative downward trend is caused by ignorance. Now let's consider the creative alternative, where you are controlling your circumstances. In place of worry on the positive polarity, we have understanding. We want to understand the laws of our being. We want to understand the many truths that are being expressed in this message. We want to understand these 4 phases of thought that lead us to freedom, that enable us to live our dream, to continually express the big ideas that flow into our mind. There is only one way to develop understanding, and that is through study. There is no other way. Personally, I feel very fortunate that at a fairly young age of 26, I made a decision. I would always have someone whom I considered to be much wiser than myself to mentor, coach, or guide me to higher levels of awareness. That decision has served me well over the years. Understanding leads you to an emotional state which is the polar opposite of fear, and that is faith. The best definition of faith I have ever heard came from a gentleman, Clarence Smithson. He said, faith is the ability to see the invisible, to believe in the incredible, which would lead us to achieve what the masses considered impossible. That type of faith is expressed through the physical body in a vibration which is the opposite to anxiety as well-being. And where anxiety is suppressed, well-being is expressed. And where the suppression leads to depression, the expression leads to acceleration. Rather than slowing us down, plugging into this positive side speeds us up. We are in this accelerated state because we are at ease. And because we are at ease, we are open channels for a creative, productive energy to flow to and through. And that is when we are in our most creative state. We must remember where the doubt and fear leads us, and how every time it moves into our consciousness, we must switch over to the positive polarity, which enables us to grow and express ourselves in a truly creative way. By continually impressing the why idea upon our subjective mind and continually getting emotionally involved in the big one, the dream, the old conditioning becomes weaker and weaker, until it truly becomes a part of the past, and it will be looked at as if it were a past life. Well, that's it. You've gone through the entire process, from bondage to reason to the terror barrier, and you found out how to crash through that terror barrier to step right through it to freedom. By now, you should be acutely aware of how important it is that you're going after the big one, something that you're truly passionate about. And when the terror barrier comes up, you're going to beat it. In choosing the big one, think of the awesome potential that you've been gifted with. Then ask yourself, is this idea big enough to challenge my potential? If it's not, that infinite potential that you've been gifted with may go untapped. It may lay there dormant all the days of your life. However, if the idea is truly the big one, if it's truly worthy of your potential, if it does challenge your potential and cause you to crash through the terror barrier, the idea will add a dimension to your life that you previously never thought possible. The right idea could motivate you to provide a service so great it would improve the quality of life for all of humanity. You can make a difference. Yes, you can. One person has in the past and one will in the future. You can be that person. You have the talent and the ability, along with the infinite source of potential, to develop yourself into something great, to do work that really counts, work that makes a difference. I'm of the opinion that in a moment of silence, you have an inner knowing of what I've just said. Remember, success is a journey, not a destination. It's important that you enjoy the trip. I want to leave you with the words of Viktor Frankl from Man's Search for Meaning. He said, don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you're going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a course greater than oneself. Give of yourself and the universe will give it all back. And as long as you live, always remember, when the dream is a big one and fueled by desire, you will crash through the terror barrier into freedom every time. This is Bob Proctor, and thank you.